I studied the flute as a child. I was never as good as I thought I was, but I was decent. I took private lessons and I took it seriously, but I understood fairly early on that I wasn't great and I was never going to be great. The guitar has always been my true love. I got my first at 13. Today I own dozens. Dozens. However, much of my life, if I'm honest, I've not been as good as I wanted to be, and sometimes insisted that I was. Bands never lasted long, and my personality was a big contributor to that. I've always wanted to be a singer, but the truth is, I've cleared many a room over the years. People have asked me to not sing at parties. I knew why intellectually. Emotionally, it was devastating. I was not good, but I refused to believe that I was that terrible. So I kept trying, although much more in private. It is really my wife Miriam who has taught me to sing, not yell, and with her I've discovered my own imperfect voice, which she professes to love, so I sing. And I sing a lot on this album. I have what I call a roundabout style. Sometimes I hit and hold the note. Sometimes I get roundabout it before taking the turn off to the next one. Sometimes the note is more round than bout. I've been assured by enough people that my voice won't clear them out of the room. So I sing. But it is increasingly rare for me to perform live. That is something else bipolar has taken. So in many ways, I'm forced to be a one-man band. But there's also the truth that I can be very difficult to work with. Insecurity and ego, as I discuss elsewhere, drive the parts of my personality I hope to transform. So I'm a guitarist. More specifically and accurately, I'm an acoustic guitarist with solid cross-picking and finger-picking skills. I'm less comfortable on the electric guitar, so what I've done over the past several years is to purchase an inexpensive guitar of a particular style in order to study a specific guitarist. So for Stevie Ray, I got a Squier Affinity Strat. For Andy Summers, a Squier Affinity Telly. For Randy Rhoads, a Jackson V. For BB, an Epiphone Lucille, which is a bit more expensive. I love Martin and Epiphone acoustics, and you'll get to meet them all on the album. Now, I couldn't do any of this without sites like Ultimate Guitar Tab and teaching videos on YouTube. I'm going to do a separate resources video with links later on. Had these existed 30 years ago, I wonder if my life as a musician might have gone another direction. But no one is truly self-taught. We all are shown how to form a chord or to improve our tone by other musicians. We learn to read music, whether notation or charts. We study the style of those who show us the instrument, who make introductions to lifelong relationships. That 10,000 hours people talk about as being necessary to greatness is better described as a series of introductions. And I'm lucky enough to live at a time and in circumstances in which I can purchase quality instruments at very affordable prices. And the result of that is this album. But I don't just sing and play guitar on the album. Over the years, various instruments have come into my hands and possession, and I've learned to make hopefully pleasant sounds on them, although in fairly basic ways. I'm not a pianist, a mandolinist, a banjoist, or even a bassist, although I think there is some solid bass playing on this album. However, I use them as tools to make sounds the guitar cannot. Music has always been a lifeline for me, although it's also been the source of my greatest insecurity and ego. And that's what this album is, an exploration of that dynamic, in hopes of finally setting down weight I no longer need to carry. I'm recording this local honey. That's the name my wonderful wife Miriam came up for with the dozen or so times we played out together. She's slated to sing on a few songs, but everything else is me. I don't know how to engineer or produce an album. My skills as an arranger sometimes fall short. but in the main, I give myself no more than a week of dedicated work on a particular song before moving forward. My hope and intent are to record between 15 and 20 songs. I'm already at half a dozen, some I like more than others. I found though that if I tinker too much, I make mistakes. I have accidentally deleted a full day's work before because I was trying to Frankenstein together a song. And that made me risk falling out of love with the song. So I have listened to when my internal voice says enough. So I'm essentially trying to record my own mixtape for the younger man and little boy whose talent took decades to match up with actual ability. These are the songs I wished I could have played years ago, but I'm ever so grateful for the journey that has brought me here. These are my best attempts at songs under a tight deadline and requiring a whole host of skills, with ability once again struggling with talent. I'm struggling to understand God right now, so I'm choosing gratitude as the mother tongue of prayer. I am in the liminal. It could be 40 days or 40 years before I have a sense of who I am. I'm allowing myself to be bold, to try things that might not work, but to trust that I've been collecting these instruments for a reason, that the time I've spent figuring things out has allowed me to get out what I've always heard in my head. So you'll notice in the first single, Senor, that percussion is desperately needed. For the life of me, I cannot figure out the drummer feature on GarageBand and Logic Pro, and doing so greatly slows down the work and increases the frustration. This is a demo album. My hope, though, is that the musicality will outstrip what is deficient.